All right, so this is the last problem we were presented on 1.1 lesson, okay? And in here, I told you the most important things was being able to read the directions to its entirety and also doing them in order, okay? And doing them in order. And so as I went through and examined people working on this yesterday, this part right here was left out a lot for some people. Either they didn't know what that meant, or for some reason they just stopped because they said circle, center, point A, and I understand that direction, so I just do that one. Okay? And so we're going to make sure we follow in order. So the first direction that I have, it says pick a point and draw a point and label it A. So I'm going to just put it right here. And so therefore, there's my point. Really tough direction. Moving down to the next one, it says that we're going to draw a circle with that center. However, the radius is going to match PQ. Where did PQ show up for you in your stuff yesterday? Where was it? Is it just made up out of thin air?
Question 1.
Sir?
Question 1.
In question 1 in our activity. And so, I think I have it on this side, so I'll flip over to this side. There was question 1 we have, and PQ is there. So my next question is, how do I find the length? Do I have to measure it with a ruler? Do I? You can respond back to me. It's okay.
No.
I don't have to measure it with a ruler. I don't have to have a ruler at all in this, do I? Okay, so how do I measure the length of PQ?
Make the circles the same size as before.
But how? You just winging it?
No, you use the compass.
Okay, so I use the compass. Do y'all agree that we use the compass to find the length? So, what about this compass represents the length of the radius? What about this compass represents the length of the radius, PQ? Yes?
The spacing between the pencil and where you...
Do you remember what we called it yesterday? Okay, so we had the pencil end, and we called this the point end, right? And so he's saying the spacing between those represents the length of the radius. Do y'all agree with that? By showing your hands, how many of you agree with that assumption? So I assume if you don't raise your hand, you're either not participating or you're not paying attention or agree with that. So how many of you agree that that represents the length of the radius? Thank you very much. All right, so I'm going to flip on over. And so I'm going to take and I'm going to put my point on P, and I'm going to put my pencil on Q. And so therefore, that length right there is the length of the radius. I don't care what that is in meters. I don't care what it is in centimeters. I don't care what it is in inches. That doesn't matter. But that represents the length of my radius. Now, if you use this one, if you use this compass, what represents the point?
The middle part.
The middle part, right? And so how do I find, since I don't have a pencil end like this one does, how do I find what the length will be? What am I going to use? It's kind of confusing, isn't it? What am I going to use to represent the pencil end? I know this is the point. Ma'am?
The little dot.
The little dots. That's a mathematical term, little dots. Okay? So congratulations. So I'm going to take, and I am going to put the little metal end on that point P, and I'm going to maneuver this around to where I see it come out. And right here on the edge, I wish it was a little bit longer so therefore you could see a little bit better in some other points, but right here on the edge, there is a point right there on the circle. Can y'all see that? If not, you have one of these in your boxes and you can look at it with me. You can follow along and do this with me is what I would encourage you to do, so therefore you're testing whether or not what yours is. Because as I walked around, some of y'all's was bigger than what it needed to be. Doesn't mean you're, yeah, it does mean you're wrong, but at least we need to identify what your errors are. Okay? And so I would do this with me if you're having trouble following along. Okay, so that represents the length. So what I'm going to do is now I have the length of PQ measured with both devices. Alright, so now it says, in B, draw a circle centered at point A. So here's point A, has a length of this radius, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw it with both devices, so therefore you can see how that goes. Okay, so this one, I'm going to put this at point A. I'm going to raise this up so you can see my actions with it. Okay? So I'm going to put the point on the center, and I'm going to use this top part And there you have it. It doesn't have to be so dark that you could see it from space, but therefore I can do it. Now, here's another thing I noticed yesterday as you were working. Your frustration wasn't in the inability to understand what was going on or to find it or to measure it or to plot it. Your frustration lied in the tool. Okay? I will give you some comfort to know that that is being addressed and for us to be able to get better tools. So we'll see where that comes from. If not, I'll discuss how you can kind of, because I don't want the frustration to be the tool, I want the frustration to be the understanding of the math and us knife through that. Okay? But I don't think the understanding was the issue. And so that took care of question B. I moved down to C. It says mark a point on the circle labeled B. Did it tell me specifically where to do it? No. Okay, it didn't. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it over here. Because I assume most of you probably put it right here. Because you were kind of trying to follow the mode of PQ. I could have put it here. I could have put it here. I could have put it here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw several circles using that value. It just said put a point B. So I'm putting several around there, so some of you are like, well, mine doesn't look like that one, so I'm wrong. But I'm going to put several on here so you can see that there's multiple ways that that can be put, okay? And you probably knew that anyway. So question D says draw another circle with the center at B that goes through A. All right? Now, did it say it's the same length as PQ? Is that given to you in the instruction? Using the same length as PQ? It's not. It's not. So it's not even talking about length at all. What do you know whenever it tells you to do that automatically, though? What do you know? It's not rhetorical. What do you know whenever it tells me that I'm going to put draw another circle with center at B? So I'm going to put my point on B because my point represents the center, and my pencil are on A. So what am I creating? A circle that has a what? Yes?
A radius equal to A.
Okay, so radius equal to A. What do you mean by that? What does he mean by that? Somebody build on that because he's closer than the rest of you not saying anything. I am creating a radius. What do I know about that radius?
It's equal to the one before.
It looks out that's equal to one before, right? And it should, because if I put B on that circle and use it as a center, then it's going to be the same radius of the one I drew, right? And so therefore, there's that one. All right? Get me a pencil. And also, I'm going to do it again here. I'm going to take B, put my little circular thing there. I'm going to find out exactly where A is, and there it is. So from there, I'm going to make sure that I'll weight down that, put my pencil in there. There you go. Okay? I'm going to do several of them so it might match yours. Okay, there's the same exact one, so I'm going to put it at point at B. Good. Point at B. Through there. And I'm going to do one more here. I want to put my point at B. Put my pencil at A. And there I have several of them. Okay? The last question said, draw a line segment between A and B. And so I'm going to use this portion, or I have a ruler inside there. So to clarify here at the end, so we understood what we were talking about with circles, what does AB represent on all of those circles? What does AB represent?
Radius.
Very good. All right, by showing your hands, how many of you understand that? Very good.